and local financial markets. In particular, we're interested in the stock markets, where we break down and analyze some of the performances from the big blue chip companies, the smaller companies, anything concerning financial markets. We have got you covered at SMART24 TV. Now, let's get to look into the performance of local stocks here in Uganda. Things haven't been really so good here at the Uganda Stock Exchange in terms of market performance, and neither were they yesterday after the first day of trading. We're looking at about 3 participants only in the Uganda Stock Exchange trades here at the exchange, and the day ended with about 2 gainers and just over 6 losers on the market, which was a pretty imbalanced performance here on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, they ended with, like I said, 2 gainers, and they were led by Umeme. Umeme Limited led the gainers at a 1% share price appreciation, and Nation Media Group at a 0.15% share price appreciation. And on the losing side, we had Jubilee Holdings, we also had Centum Investments, we had East African Breweries Limited, and as well as Stanbic Bank Uganda, Kenya Airways, and Equity Bank. Quite a poor performance registered here at the Uganda Stock Exchange. And of course, this didn't leave the all-share index the same after it paired by about 0.04 points, which was a 0.01% depreciation in the value of the Uganda Stock Exchange all-share index. Now, when you're trying to kind of look at a bear market or something, you must look at it in both ends. The opportunity it provides and also some of the challenges in the sector. Of course, currently Uganda is still one of the countries with very high inflation rates, of course, which is a global problem, but still coming down to Uganda itself, as in the local people. There's a lot people are struggling with, to cope financially, and despite the fact that the crude oil prices, the oil prices in general went down, other commodities like food and other commodities that maintain the livelihood of different people are still high. And so this could be one of the reasons probably we are seeing that people are not that willing to invest at a time like this. And of course, as we head into the holiday season, also people are trying to save and not to spend the little money they have on investment, and trying to save it for the Christmas holidays, and which could be also another factor probably leading to the kind of sluggish performance we are witnessing on the market. Regardless, we still have people that are willing to go out there and try to explore and try to get to buy some stocks. And usually this is the best time, like most investment advisors have told us in the past. When it's bloody, that's the time to go out there and fish and get to hunt for some stock. In particular here, Umeme had an appreciation of 1%, which was, for example, we haven't seen that in Umeme for quite some time. And I'm going to break down the Umeme performance in a while, but that is something you can see. An opportunity out of the blue usually shows up. And it doesn't matter when you enter or how much money you've spent, but definitely at a certain point in time, there's going to be a surprise on the stock market. Stock markets are quite volatile, and they're things that really change, and they are risky. And that is something I always want to warn you about. People think you can get into the market and trade in about 2 or 3 days and make a fortune. Well, it's not always the case. Sometimes things go the other way, but still that provides opportunity for someone else at the same time. Now, Umeme traded about 4,000 to 4,800 shares on the market and ended the day with a gain of about 1%. And was actually the only local or domestic company that gained on their stock price. Looking at the details here, we are talking about a company that has been listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange for the past 10 years and currently holds about 328 billion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization, and currently has about 1.57% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market here. When you look at the pricing of Wumeme stock, it has been quite flat line here on the graph, and currently they are still, yes, they have gone up by about 2 shillings to 202, but that's still very close to 200. It's one of those stocks that have tried to maintain, and some investors prefer, at least rather than lose, you maintain the value of a certain stock, and Wumeme has just done that. Yesterday, with 4,800 shares, they had a turnover of close to 969,600 Ugandan shillings only, and currently their shares outstanding are 1.62 billion in number there on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Wumeme closing this particular day with a 202.0 shillings brings their year-to-date performance at a 6.89% gain in share price from 189.0 shillings on the 1st of January 2022 to 202 shillings. And this is the second best on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, for starters, year-to-date performance is really important because it gives us a picture of how the company has tried to keep its stock values since the year began to the current date. And so that's why we talk about the year to date. You just looking at the stock price at the beginning or opening of the year and at the current date. And this gives us kind of what the company has done for the year, for that particular year. And Wumeme is now currently ranking the second best in terms of year to date performance. We're going to look at the report here and see just in the brief term, that is 1 quarter performance, how Wumeme has been able to perform. But currently we are seeing a very good performance there on year-to-date performance for Wumeme stock. Wumeme also, in the last quarter, the last 3 months, specifically starting with the 16th of August to yesterday, 14th of November, is currently the second most traded on stock, coming just behind Stanbic Bank Uganda. In this period, the company has traded close to 21.1 million shares that are valued at 4.21 billion Ugandan shillings. And on average, they have about 334,000 shares per trading session in this period. A volume high of about 8.13 million shares was achieved on the 23rd of August 2022, within the last 3 months or so. And when you look at the activity, it's intense, though not as intense as, for example, Stanbic, but it's relatively intense compared to other stocks. On the 14th of November, they had 4,800. On the 11th of November, that was on Friday, they had 1,000 shares. And on the 10th, they had about 521,000. On the 9th, they had about 3,640. And so you're seeing at least a fairly spread out performance for the week, which gives you a picture that probably it's a company that will offer you liquidity once you get into it. Second, in terms of year-to-date, and second, in terms of the most traded on stocks on the Uganda Stock Exchange. That is Wumeme for you. Wumeme is very famous, especially for foreign investors. We've seen very many foreign investors in the company. Of course, being a utility services company, people trust that this company will make money regardless of how bad the economy is. People need power. People still need electricity. And so this is one company you can rely on as an individual for the gain in terms of future gains and stock price appreciation as well. And that is Womeme's stock for you. The rest of the losers and gainers here mainly across listings and didn't have market activity. However, we had activity on Stanbic Bank Uganda, which unfortunately turned out to be a loss for the company. Now, Stanbic Bank Uganda is part of Africa's leading financial services group known as Standard Bank from South Africa. Stanbic Bank Uganda, however, was started in 2007. Rather, was listed on 2007 here on the Uganda Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol SBU. Currently, the company is about 1.02 trillion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization, which represents about 4.91% of the entire Uganda Stock Exchange equity market. And currently, we think they are at a price of 20.02 Ugandan shillings from 20.09, and they lost about 0.35%, which is about 0.08, 0.07 Ugandan shillings for the day. Yesterday, they had a volume of 89,300 shares that were transacted at a gross turnover of about 1.79 million traded shares. When you look at the last day of trading, they dropped from 20.09 to 20.02, which was 0.07 loss there. However, in terms of year to date, the company has lost about, 23% from 26.0 Ugandan shillings to 20.02 Ugandan shillings, ranking it the 10th in terms of year to date. Remember, I said year to date, we're looking at the price at the beginning of the year, comparing it with the current price and expressing that as a percentage. And Stanbic on this note has lost close to, 23% of their price valuation. However, on the other hand, in terms of trading, Stanbic Bank has been the #1 most traded on stock in the last 3 months, according to data from the Uganda Securities Exchange. And in the last 3 months, we are looking at since 16th of November to the 14th of November. The company has traded close to 68.5 million shares on the market, valued at 1.43 billion Ugandan shillings on the market, and on average, about 1.09 million traded shares per session. A volume high of 53 million shares was achieved on the 20th of October within the same period. And Stanbic still stands at the top of its game compared to other financial institutions of its caliber that are listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And so it's one company that you can credit for affordability, liquidity, and also offering their clients dividends. Just like incident we know about when Stanbic was unable to issue dividends in the last 2 years of the pandemic, 2020 and 2021. It was able to make up for that with over 100 billion worth of dividend that was issued out at least in this year 2022. That is Stanbic stock for you. Before I leave the Uganda Stock Exchange, I want to just look at the equity market performance also as per the CMA, or Capital Markets Authority quarterly bulletin. After 3 months of the year, that's of course from first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, the Capital Markets Authority, which is the regulatory body for the capital markets in Uganda, issues a bulletin. And this bulletin gives us ideas on what the markets have been like for the last 3 or so months. Now, USE total market capitalization in the third quarter grew by 9.7% to 21.7 trillion Ugandan shillings at the end of the review period. That was in September, and this was from 19.7 trillion in June, by the end of June. This growth, according to the Capital Markets Authority, was due to gains in the 6 cross-listed counters, that is Equity Bank Limited, East African Breweries Limited, Jubilee Holdings, Kenya Airways, Kenya Commercial Bank, as well as Nation Media Group. And of course, only 2 locally domestically listed companies were credited for this gain, and that was Bank of Baroda Uganda and MTN Uganda. On an annual basis, looking at exactly 1 year back, a total market capitalization of about 3.1% from 21 trillion Ugandan shillings at the end of the similar period in 2021 was registered. This growth was due to the share price gains on 2 locally domestically listed counters, and that was Uganda Clays Limited and the National Insurance Company. In addition, a listing of MTN Uganda in 2021 December also contributed to this particular growth. Regarding the domestic market's capitalization, which represents the value of the locally listed stocks, it fell by 0.1% from 7.14 trillion Ugandan shillings by the end of June to about 7.13 trillion at the end of the review period. Now, this gives you a picture of what's happening on the local companies. These are companies that usually come in to redeem at least the stock exchange, but still we're seeing that their market capitalization went down in the 3rd quarter of 2022. This decline was attributed to the fall in market capitalization registered on 7 domestically listed equities here on the Uganda Securities Exchange. You're looking at, for example, Uganda Clays Limited, which lost about 21.1%, Wumeme, which lost about 16.3%, National Insurance Corporation, which lost about 6.5%, Cipla Quality Chemicals, and that lost about 5.8%, and Stanbic Bank Uganda 4.5%, and New Vision Printing and Publishing Company at a 3.1% loss and 0.5% loss on the DFCU company here. And these are some of the quarterly trends in market capitalization, which you can find in this report here based on the Capital Markets Authority analysis. That's it from the Uganda Stock Exchange. We're going to keep on with this starting tomorrow as well, and continue to cover some of the other sectors like the debt market and also market activity as per the Uganda Stock Exchange equity market. Regardless, looking at the total volumes here and also winding up the business at the Uganda Stock Exchange, we had about 2.7 million Ugandan shillings worth of turnover and about 94,150 traded shares on the stock market. And closing the day was a 20.9 trillion Uganda Securities Exchange, Uganda shillings rather, on the market capitalization the exchange. The local company index decreased to 266.89, of course, following the decline, especially that came from Stanbic Bank, and making a 1-week loss of 0.71% on the local company index. That's how the trades were on the Uganda Stock Exchange. You can check out more at the Uganda Securities Exchange.co.ug and get to know what's currently happening. Thank you very much for joining us for this session of financial markets. And remember to keep saving and investing. Of course, it's a really, really tough economic times, and we really understand that. But it's no time to surrender on our investments. You must keep updated, you must keep moving, and you must be informed before getting to invest. My name is Anthony. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.